All right, could you just hold this one on the board? All right, I would just, because someone just asking the name Uddaka Rama Buddha, how we know. This is all about the Sanskrit grammar. In Sanskrit, it's different from English. In English, you could say Uddaka, basically, you could say, you can understand, if this is all in one compound, right? You can understand Uddaka and Rama, son, right? Right, you can understand that. But the thing it is, I don't want to explain grammar now, but here is a Bahubrihi. It's a kind of the grammar way as a noun, saying that Uddaka.
Is there equivalent first name?
Looks like.
No. How to explain that now? What is it? What's Yeah, 但是我在想，这 English is how to say Uddaka. No, it cannot do like this. Is Uddaka whose actually is Uddaka whose son is Rama, right?
No, Uddaka is the son of Rama.
Let me think. If we put in the Uddaka whose son is Rama, that means if it
then the Rama becomes the son.
Then the Rama becomes the son.
Yeah.
So this is not Bahuvrihi. So this is a Kamatarya.
Yeah.
So then this is not a Bahu. This is, because in the Sanskrit, so if you read it as a Bahu, it means Uddaka whose son is Rama. Okay, mean Rama is the son of the Uddaka, right? But if you read this as a Kamatarya, mean Uddaka who is the son of the Rama. Okay, so yeah, 遗嘱是 to Kamatarya. So depends. That's why when you read this, you have to see. This is why when you run, sometimes when you see the people do translation also, not only name, even the kind of like a lot of this now, even about the Buddhism teachings. If you understand it differently, it could mean different. Sometimes you could understand it just through the context also. But when you read like especially the commentary by like Kui Ji and other Chinese monks in old day, like 10 dynastic, they always talk about that this should not read it this way, this should be this way. So like even a lot of comment like the Abhidhamma Kosa also always mention that. So that's why from that perspective you have to study it. Even you don't learn Sanskrit or Pali well, but at least you must know something about a little bit about the grammar. Okay. So yeah, good. But if this is the Bahuvrihi, it means Uddaka is the son of the Rama. Okay. But as when you read it as the Kamatarya, that means the Uddaka is the son of the Rama. No, it's a Rama son.
So what if Rama is the son of Uddaka? What kind of form is that? 刚才那个
Kamatarya 遗嘱是啊。
刚才那个是遗嘱是，现在这个是。
就是 Uddaka 就是遗嘱是啊 ，Uddaka 是 son of the Rama 是遗嘱是。
对，但是如果反过来是。
反过来是有财势。
有财势。
对。有没有的有财就有财产的财。他们叫有财势，解释的是。All right, why don't we just come to the next the line 12 now, the ascetic of rigorous self-denial. This is interesting because this one, anyway, read it first. Let me just read the introduction. In the next phase of this spiritual quest, Gautama tried another available method of spiritual development, the attempt to willfully master the body and its desires by such things as fasting and holding of the breath for long periods. As will be seen, he later criticized this. Okay, shall we? Line 12, the extremity of his
The
asceticism.
extremity of his asceticism. In this passage, the Buddha describes how he practiced 4 modes of austere living that were then common and are still practiced by some non-Buddhist Indian ascetics. Sariputta, I recall having lived a holy life consisting of 4 factors. I have been a ascetic, a supreme ascetic. I have been unkempt, supremely unkempt. I have been scrupulous, supremely scrupulous. I have been secluded, supremely secluded. Sariputta, there my practice of asceticism was such that I went naked, rejecting conventions, licking my hands, not coming when asked, not stopping when asked. I did not accept the food brought I did not accept food brought or food specifically made or an invitation to a meal. I received nothing from a pot, from a bowl, across a threshold, across a stick, across a pestle, from 2 eating together, from a pregnant woman, from a woman giving suck, from a woman lying in the midst of men, from where food was advertised to be distributed, from where a dog was waiting, from where flies were bustling. I accepted no fish or meat. I drank no liquor, wine, or fermented food. I kept to one house, to one morsel. I kept to 2 houses, to 2 morsels. I kept to 3 houses, to 3 morsels. I kept to 4 houses, to 4 morsels. I kept to 5 houses, to 5 morsels. I kept to 6 houses, to 6 morsels. And I kept to 7 houses, to 7 morsels. I lived on the food from 1 donor, from 2 donors, from 3 donors, from 4 donors, from 5 donors, from 6 donors, from 7 donors. I took food once a day, once every 2 days, once every 3 days, once every 4 days, once every 5 days, once every 6 days, once every 7 days. Thus, even up to once every fortnight, I dwell pursuing the practice of taking food at stated intervals. I was an eater of greens, eater of millet, eater of wild rice, eater of high paring, eater of moles, eater of rice bran, eater of rice scum, eater of sesame flowers, eater of grass, eater of cow dung. I live on forest roots and fruits. I fed on fallen fruits. I clothed myself in hemp mixed clothes, in shrouds, in refuse rags, in tree bark, in antelope hide, in strips of antelope hide, in kusa grass fabric, in bark fabric, in wood shaving fabric, in head hair wool, in animal wool, in owl's wings. I was one who pulled out hair and beard, pursuing the practice of pulling out hair and beard. I was one who stood continuously rejecting seeds. I was one who squatted continuously, devoted to maintaining the squatting position. I was one who used a mattress to spikes. I made a mattress of spikes my bed. I dwelt pursuing the practice, ritual, bathing in cold water 3 times daily, including in the evening. Thus, in such a variety of ways, I dwelt pursuing the practice of tormenting and modifying the body. Sariputta.
Okay. I think we can just stop here for a little while because, yeah, thank you. Right. All right. And any comment? Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
somehow it's like some people have this image of Buddhists all doing this. Like, for example, a Japanese Zen master sitting under a waterfall. That's the image for Zen Buddhism.
Oh, I see. Actually, the funny part I read once, one of the Japanese ascetic, I would say, or the monk or priest, and he said it's good to do the meditation under the cold water, like a waterfall during the cold season, or like a fall season or the winter season. And but the way my understanding, he said, is because the Buddha did that. And he believed that if the Buddha did that, even anyone who want to attain enlightenment should do that. Otherwise, you would have no way to get enlightenment. So, and that his prophecy kind of.
So if
yeah.
Buddha made a mistake, you also need to make that mistake.
Yeah, in order to what? Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the countdown, maybe?
The countdown is another very interesting story. Because why is like that? It's also, if you look at the Buddhist, even actually in India, I don't know, this still they have, I presume, because I knew that somebody did see that. Like some people have to be really practice ascetic like a cow. They have to really live like a cow and walk like a cow. And or like a dog. They have to really, what the dog eat, they have to follow what the dog eat. And that even still exists in India. And that, remember, this is still the Buddha's time 2,600 years ago. I mean, it's not surprising. This is how people having the wrong perception of what the spirituality is. And then they really, some people will devote to that. Now, let me just say this before we talk in detail. Actually, this kind of passage, for example, is never really highly been illuminated or taught by the Chinese tradition. But you do find this passage in Chinese text. I remember when I read that, I was really shocked in a way at that time because I thought, that's interesting. And then talking about eating the shit, you know.
Even a cow is not that stupid.
But in the Chinese, they mentioned that too. But then I say that if you study the Buddhism in Chinese tradition, because still the image of the Buddha has been understood in a very different pictures. So, I mean, definitely nobody preferred to talk that. But I thought that time, well, I want to say interesting, I mean, I knew the Pali, they have this, but I thought that time maybe the Chinese complete, you read it, or maybe no translate, but you do have that translation, but nobody really read that. Or maybe read it, just ignore it, whatever. But here, you know, let me just back to this sutta. It's called Mahasihanada Sutta. And this sutta actually is very popular in, I mean, especially in Sri Lanka, not necessarily in Burma or in Thailand. But because Sri Lanka, comparatively Sri Lanka, well reader than the other. And I think in a certain culture, they don't like to talk that too, because people might have a different, wrong way to understand to the Buddha.
We talk about this a lot in Taoist practice. That's the immortal, the image of
No, but the Buddha was introduced to China in a different image.
Yeah.
It's not good to talk that the Buddha, even though it's clear this is before he attained Buddhahood, still it's not really like very honorable way of thinking to Chinese idea, because he has to be very smart from the beginning to the end, right? He cannot make any mistake in between. No, he cannot make any mistake. No way. If he is a Buddha, such a powerful, no. I mean, this is Chinese, my understanding in general, okay? I don't mean that this really, in general, is like that. Like my father, I always complain to my father, because I still remember when I think my father was highly influenced by the Chinese culture. I told my father, I need to go to tuition. My father always complained, if you are good at study, you don't need a tuition. But, you know,
Tutoring.
A tutoring, you don't need a tutoring. Because you're good, you don't have to. And, you know, and you know, that time is funny, I even accept it. You know why I accept it? Because I also imbue with that kind of cultural understanding. I only think that I might be not a very smart person. So tutoring is not for me, you know. Okay, I mean, somehow, I don't mean that Stephanie is 100% Chinese culture, but that I'm just saying that like a folk, you know, in a general, that's how we take it. Okay, we must understand this text, Mahānidāna Sutta, why the Buddha also mentioned this. Because one of the monks called a Sunaka, he actually come from a very good background, really powerful background, and also very spiritually very high. He lived in the monastery with the Buddha for some time, but after some time he was not very happy, he left. And he said that actually the Buddha doesn't have supernatural power, what we just mentioned about the higher power. He doesn't have the supernatural power. He only knows how to explain the thing. But the explanation works only for people who can end of the suffering. He did agree with that, end of the suffering. But he still he was not very happy with the Buddha because he think the Buddha doesn't have a powerful supernatural power. So he left. And of course this become a kind of a rumor because he come from a very good family and very powerful like background. So he left the place. So, and after he left, even he's saying bad thing about Buddhism, but only about Buddha, only the good thing. But anyway, he said the bad thing about the Buddha. However, when Sariputta knew this, and that's why Sariputta came to see the Buddha and saying that that's what he heard. But then the funny part is, of course, the Buddha said he's a foolish person. However, he did say something very nice. That is that he have only the knowledge that will end you the end of your suffering. So it looks like in this sutta, there are lots of things that this is just some of the passage because this relate to what the Buddha in the past. It seems very clear. The Buddha mentioned this to say he didn't know my past mean before he became the Buddha. What kind of life he have encountered. He actually tried everything. He had a very good meditation, right? Under the two teachers, peaceful, calm, and blah, 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 honor. And then now he changed his life to a really horrible, live like a cow and eating this. And all these sort of thing. That's what he started his, what we call the self-modification and he go through that. So we haven't finished yet what happened later. That's what he want to. He said that, there are people like that because they didn't get what they want, right? That guy only want that he want to associate a teacher who can read my past life and tell me everything. But actually in the past, also, the Buddha he could do that. He just don't want to do it, okay? He have those power. He did mention to Sariputta, those powers I have, but basically mean that guy he didn't understand because to Buddha that is not important in some way, And he also mentioned about this, what did he encounter. Anyway, if you have time, go to read that sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, I mean the Middle Land Discourse, sutta number 12, I think. So, yeah.
Next, well, we are
in discussion as well.
The post and
It's coming.
Yeah, the book, yeah, that's right, yeah. Okay.
Is Sariputta called 34?
Yeah, Sariputta to 34. Any other comment and whatever don't understand? This is also sometimes been understood part of the holding the wrong ritual and discipline. 戒禁取见 in Chinese, yeah. 戒禁 or what's 戒禁 is okay. 戒禁 is yeah. Yes.
Curiosity. Everything's 7 here. 7 days, 7 so and so forth.
Yeah.
Same thing when he was born later on, 7 steps. What's so special? 7
I think the number is always in India is a good number, 7.
The 7 up is based on Indians.
You do see the number 7 being significant, though we carry it to our calendar even today. And in the Judeo-Christian works, of course, it was 7 days of creation. And so I'm wondering if the root of that is coming from India and moving through the different religious philosophies?
No, I don't know. Certainly maybe they have some influence with those, Certainly at the time, definitely 7 is a kind of like a good number for them, you see. Yeah. So, but he also want to claim here that the Buddha at that time, as a bodhisattva, he did try his, even as I say, those kind of practice still exist. You don't take the food when the women are still pregnant. Let's say they want to offer you food, you don't take it as to show that you are a good practitioner, because you don't want to, it's a tradition belief that it's not clean. And also you don't take the food when they're feeding the baby. It's not about not clean. That means that you are not very polite or something like that. It's not in an honor way, because and in old day, and so you don't prepare the food like even when they're holding the offering kind of grand offering kind of ceremony. So to show that you are good practice, you don't even go there, because it means you're craving, for the thing. And all this kind of thing. So he say that time he was complete vegetarian for sure. So he don't take anything that is make up of not just water, but in other words, just simply say he only drink water. But even he come to a much extreme later on that. By the way, talk about the countdown. That's also why the Buddhism also have one of the very famous story that one of the ascetic, he was very proud. And then he saw the Buddha pass by many times. But that's fine, just almost like when people just pass by, just say hi, or maybe just don't talk, just go, pass by. But one day he just thought, because he later on he become respected by a lot of people. Why? Because he doesn't eat. And he doesn't eat at all, and he got highly respect. People, of course, respect. Wow, you must be very powerful, spiritual, because you don't eat at all. So, and then one day he passed by the Buddha too, when they were cross, when they have, and then he showed a proudness to the Buddha, saying that, who are you? I'm the one who be honored because I don't eat. And because it's believed that the Buddha had a supernatural power also, and the Buddha really read, he knew his problem. Because the Buddha always knew, but the Buddha just don't want to say. But then when he come to that such a kind of arrogance, even showing his kind of color on the street, then the Buddha say, you don't have to do that. I know who you are. You don't eat just because you want people to honor you. Actually, at night you sneak out and just eating all this shit. Because he was kind of like develop a kind of fetish that only love eating shit. I know you don't.
How that would sustain somebody, though. I would think that would make somebody sick.
No, you never know.
You're right.
No,
do you?
no, I don't. But imagine if let's say, when he was a little as a baby, in those days, the family is so big, or he was kind of like nobody look after him. He just eating those till he finds tasty. The baby. Actually, normally when the baby they keep those, they find tasty too. Trust me. I saw my sister eat that, and she loved.
Were you the big brother and you let this happen?
No, I forgot. I did call my mom or my father. I did call. I didn't let it happen. I didn't. I'm. But maybe not in this modern time in America, maybe even not in India nowadays. But 2,000 years ago, I think it could be not surprising sometimes. So,
I think I read other stories in Buddha's time story. They mention many times about somebody eating sheep. In that time in the Indian society, it's like that.
First the food is very minimal, right? In those days, and then and even I'm sure even in a certain Asian culture, even this kind of thing it could make as a medicine too. Let me just say, even in the Buddhist discipline, what they Vinaya code, it did mention that two things. Let's say you don't, according to strict rule as a monk, you don't you don't store medicine, you know. But then later we mentioned some kind of medicine make out of that and make out of urine. Then you could, for the sake, but you don't store that also. Maybe you don't know in America, but definitely even in Asia, you ask, they use that. Sometimes they have a way to distill it and so forth, and they believe that actually can serve as a medicine to cure body.
In
Yeah.
Ayurvedic medicine too, they use cotton and mix with some other thing to
Sure.
process it.
Okay, now let's make the picture clearer.
Well, actually, it's quite common knowledge that certain medicines made of the little boys' urine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 60-year-old. There's some specific time that you collect them.
Shall we left the detail now? Yes.
Just to let you know, I don't
Can we get back to the story? Who is this person's name?
Who's the
guy
name?
who actually eventually turned into a Buddhist, followed the Buddha. I mean, he
No, he didn't. He didn't.
He didn't?
I didn't. He didn't.
I thought he eventually.
No, not.
followed-
I forgot. I don't remember he did. I cannot remember. You know, I'm not very good at the name, basically, the story or so. But generally means, so he said that. So because he knew that, actually that's what he did. You know, so he feel ashamed.
Yeah, right.
Because you know, he just want to show his goodness, but actually he still have a lot of things hiding from other people, right? You know, that's why I think humble is always the best thing. You know, if you're not. All right. Any other yes?
Like,
Comment.
maybe this is too detailed, but like, what was so great about eating from only one house and one more?
I mean that he's not craving.
And then it's like 2 houses, 3 houses.
Imagine, let's say the monk. Now look at nowadays. Now later the monkhood is that you go for the alms round. If your bowl is not full, you still can go to the house to house. That is, you know, imagine in India that 2,000 years ago, if you could do that, I'm a good monk because I just only go to one house. If they give him, if they just give me one scoop of rice, I'm also satisfied with that. Then of course people think, oh, you must be very virtuous, right? But definitely that's not later on not the Buddhist understanding because you need food to sustain your practice. But a lot of people like to show that too. I mean, this is what it's in Indian. There are people they are like this. This is what we say the wrong way of holding the precept. You know.
I see similarities between this and Halloween trick or treat.
That would be a Kit Kat.
Okay, yes, we have 5 minutes left. Yeah.
我讲中文，听说那个甘露丸好像是用做的，不是啊，
Oh, I wanted to ask.
You can answer that later.
Here it mentions he lives a holy life.
Yeah.
How do they? How is holy life defined in India in Buddha's time? I mean,
Those are the holy life, the brahmacharya.
Ascetic.
Yeah.
so any renunciant life is considered a holy life.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's only that when you renunciate, how you should, how you follow, how you practice that kind of renunciate life.
So it's not like there is a fixed pattern or a fixed.
No, this is another pattern. So if some they think that the holy life means you eat less, some they think that you need to fast, some they think that you need to.
So it could be
You don't
all
take the
different
food.
different varieties of
Yeah.
way to approach that. Will
Yes,
consider a
yeah.
holy life. Okay.
I guess you have to suffer too, right? They talk about pulling hair.
Yeah, beard.
So I wonder that what's the purpose? Is it
Actually, I saw a documentary last time. I forgot who's the guy. He's an American guy who went to India, really looked for this kind of extreme, what they call extreme asceticism. And then, yeah, the guy is pulling his hair. So his practice is pulling. When they think this is when they have a beard, they pull it. When they hair, they pull it. So that's what they do, yeah. In other words, to show that they can endure the pain. But it's very funny, and it's become a cultural. Some part of people definitely still think they are good, but some part maybe just say, okay, fine, that's his life, you know. So, but in Buddhism, of course, you know that later we condemn this is the wrong way of doing it. You know, why you want to, you know, torture your physical body in such a way. Actually, you could do, if that's the aim is to become holy or enlightened, so that might not be the necessary way of doing it, right?
So if they follow this kind of asceticism, how do they know they have reached a certain nibbana state?
That's why they show they are good.
Just to show that.
They don't necessarily give you long teachings. I mean, this has happened nowadays, very common, like people say, I live in a frugal life and, you know, I don't spend one more than this, that is the one thing, you know. And
so it's just to show the world that he is a good person?
Yeah. And then he will gain respect. You know, some people don't want money, but they just want respect.
So are they getting anything out of that?
Then they want people who like them, that's it.
Oh.
You know, yeah, in some way, yes,
don't
please.
They believe that after doing this, they're going to go to a better place, a heaven? Or
Yeah, of course, because they are virtual. Yeah. That's why even in one Buddhist text mentioned that the people who are following complete like a dog or a cow. So, and then when he met the Buddha, he insists, I was told that you are the Buddha, you are the enlightened one, so you must know where we will go when we pass away, where we're born. And the Buddha said, don't ask me this question. Do you anyone read that sutta? Yeah. And he declined to answer, but he insists, please tell me, please tell me. Then the Buddha said, if you insist, I tell you, then you were born as a cow or as a dog. then he was really disappointed because he thought that an enlightened person must be telling you something better. But then he asked, he requested a reason why. He said, look, imagine now your whole life you live such a way. Of course you were born in the way that you live, your habit, right? Anyway, that's karma. Okay, I guess we have 10 minutes left. Usually what we want to do is, we can wrap up here because the next one is, it's interesting about more in the maybe less extreme kind of, in a way extreme in the sense of physical torturing, but the other thing is more, actually is more like, in maybe a little bit more acceptable, I would say. We'll talk that later, but I like to just have, usually we think that we have 10 minutes or 15 minutes. We need to form up like if we are going to compile in the future about a textbook. After reading this, what we learn, what are the main thought that it comes to you so far? That you think the Buddha was a fool, whatever, something like that. And what kind of, I'm sure the people asking question already, but we want to think about this in terms of like if you're going to teach somebody in a teenager, or you think that what kind of main point, how to say, what we should suggest them, what is the main message is there? What is the message is there?
I was thinking about the middle path. Like, first he presented that he practiced samadhi, which is the path like where you get a lot of pleasant pleasure sensation, mentally mostly. And then he said that's not the way. Then he moved to the path of self-torturing. That's the path of suffering. And then he found out, well, we haven't got to a conclusion yet, but then he found out it didn't work for him either. And then he said, the true path is somewhere in the middle, so that's what...
Yeah, but that's will come later, right? But I mean, so far up to this point, you know, do you think maybe best to say this? If I would, give me just a second. If I were, then I would first ask, why we have to read this one? Okay, yeah.
I want to.
Yes, okay.
Can I?
If
Yeah.
you want.
All these passages just telling us that Buddha, Bodhisattva, he has tried all kinds of approaches. at that time in India, but nothing works. All kinds of
asceticism.
yes.
Okay.
Meditation or asceticism, all kind of approach, but none of them leading to the Nibbana. So in the next chapter, probably this book will tell us how Buddha find the right way of going to the Nibbana.
Okay.
Probably.
The first thing that comes to my mind is like, when you have a goal in mind, not be afraid to try different ways to reach it. Like he's learning from multiple different teachers and like different traditions and stuff to like pursue the final goal that he has in his mind, and abandoning like really good communities, not abandoning, like leaving really good communities, really favorable situations, because to him, like he kept true to himself, and like that was not quite what he was searching for. So he had the bravery to go look for what he was really looking for. Was the first thing.
Adding to that, I think it's one of the very important points. Why did he choose to abandon the path he has been practicing? Since he has been so successful in whatever he did, like he has been super successful in samadhi,
And he will be honored by the community.
Like,
yeah.
This is not what I'm looking for. Then he tortured himself to the point like no one can outdo him. Then he said, no, that's not it. Why did he make that decision? I think that.
It's great to give examples and role models to adolescents. I think when you're trying to communicate a message to adolescents, the first thing to do is to consider where an adolescent is, because that's developmentally where adolescence is. It starts from the adolescent's perspective. They're very self-centered, necessarily so, and they're trying on different personas. They're trying different ideas of, this is where Western psychology does not work with Buddhism, because they're trying on different senses of self, and yet Buddhism says, well, maybe not self. But the point is, the Buddha was in his adolescence while he was doing all this. And so you can say, well, this is an example of somebody who is going out there and trying different selves on, if you will. And, then you can go and analyze it. Once you've taken what this is and made it relevant to the adolescent's own perception of what's happening in their own life. So I think when the whole point is, when you're talking to an adolescent, you can't say, I'm talking to you. You have to do the paradigm shift and say, from your perspective, this is how this will relate to your life. Does that make sense? But that's talking to Western teens. So maybe somebody could comment on that?
Yeah, I really like your mentioning of searching for identity, like trying out a bunch of things that might actually hurt yourself throughout the time. I mean, we all went through high school. We all been to the awkward homecoming dance and all that. I mean, we try on the different persona. And then later on, we realize come back to the center, and we'll realize, okay, this is what I want to do, and then you should follow that path. I think that would hit home with me when I was younger.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess, yeah. Are you actually saying the similar thing? Yeah.
And the forces in a teen's life right now can be self-destructive in terms of drugs, You can talk about the passions, like sex.
Mm.
All of these potential disasters that you're trying to, help teens recognize and avoid. So.
Yeah, it's maybe at the time, like the Buddha, when he looked for the spirituality as a bodhisattva at the time. So that's what in those days the people are thinking that's the best way for them to get recognized, from a different community.
Like us, we would follow the cool
So,
kids.
yeah.
And cool kids usually do something stupid.
Yeah.
We still do it because they're cool.
So.
Then we tried it, we hurt ourselves, then come back and go, oh, I should not have done that. Then try again.
That's a really good point, I guess. Yeah. Any other, what you think, what we just read, or even including what we read like last time? Yeah.
Well, this part I am a little, still I don't, I hope, the Buddha himself, said this is not what he, doesn't solve his problem. But I just want to know, what is his own thinking after experiencing all these crazy things, okay? And he must have some kind of mental process. He has done this for a long time, not a short time. So he said, well, maybe
6 years altogether. Different type of thing, yes.
He saw there's so many, what do you call it, certain people, they are doing these, okay, he wants to do very extreme things, but he didn't get any liberation out of it. He must have some kind of mental process he experienced somewhere, and I couldn't figure out what it is, So you're reading these, this is worse than the worst teenager I know of. Try all these crazy things, okay? But for a teenager really to read this part without any other guidance, oh gee, I'm not that bad, Buddha did these things, So it's very dangerous, when for the teenager, adolescent people to look at these. We need to have some kind of message to them so they can understand the process that Buddha went through this, why he went through these, and then what lesson he got. And so these young folks won't get straight into some other odd path.
Yeah, I think it's I think maybe best to say this. Actually, he did respond that in other texts, not here. I don't know whether they include because I didn't read it yet. But I mean, he did respond. I said several times he did respond. It was wrong, why, and how.
That'd be good. Yeah.
And but I guess because we're reading the text, which presumably 2,000 years ago, that at least it exists 2,000 years ago. So I mean, that's a good point too. It's like people, the young kids might be thinking that I'm actually, what I did is not worse than them. It's not worse than this, the bodhisattva, and it could be worse. I mean, that's a good point, but maybe that's one reason why. Yeah. So, but even if the mother come back or father say, "What do you go? Why you come back late at night?" Look at the Buddha, actually, late at night is nothing. When he was a bodhisattva, that's a good point. And but I guess this is that's why we need the guidance. I mean, when read that, we need to write something, and if especially when we come by, we will do something for it, we need to ask them. That's good to discuss, and then we need to let them to understand what is the main point of reading this part. It's not become an excuse saying that, look, he did that also 6 years, I only did that just one day. So maybe that's the reason why there are different the educational background, why this passage, for example, is not included in general. We never, even when they write the life of the Buddha story, never write this. But this text is so so crude. Unabridged, yeah. But this is a abridged version. Unabridged, yeah. That's great. Anyway, thanks for the comment. I mean, those are sufficient enough already. I mean, guess for today's discussion.
So I was talking to my roommate recently, and he said that when he was in high school, his teacher made him read this book called the Tao of Pooh.
Yeah.
Like it's a like an introduction to Taoism, but like read by Winnie the Pooh. And I thought just the book title was really interesting, and like the concept itself is like, you know, if you're, I thought it was cool because if you're trying to appeal to a younger audience, like you bring something familiar to them. That made me think of this text that we're doing. So,
you mean like the Tower Pool?
The Buddha of
shocking
something.
The Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
I understand. Yeah, I know the Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, so.
I just thought that was a clever way to name a book, to like maybe raise.
We are not going to write a book for the kids, but it's just like if this is as like a textbook to read, we need to write something that like the guideline for them to read, right?
Guideline.
Yeah. Well.
Determination.
No, determination is one other part too. It's good. Yeah.
It's very strong.
Yeah.
And the 5 things he always thought when he went through the process, like someone is successful because he has this. I too also have that.
Yeah.
And then he did it 5 times. 心情念经会, those 5 things.
Yeah. Well, you can definitely draw on the different character traits that he manifested when he went through these different processes.
But also, I think he is on a quest.
Sure.
Yeah, so he has very strong commitment to his quest. And he will try any which way, you know, any which mean, which society accepted as, accept as an excellent
asceticism,
yeah.
As an asceticism, yeah.
Asceticism or the
holy life.
The holy life, that kind of things. So he just, I guess he wanted to go through that and then just prove to the world, to the society, so it would be convincing that he already done it. He done it to the extreme.
Yeah, but then, as I think she also make a very good point. Actually, it's like, you know, this is why sometimes when you compile something for something to read, when if depending on age, like the teenager or the kids or even, so people could, as I said, just one interesting thing that they always could find excuse, saying that, you know, now what's wrong? The society accept the marijuana now. We can try that 6 years and see how they are doing. You know, you know, like that. So, but I mean, just saying that if they take this as almost like a holy book to read, right? So even he did that in the past. He's a Buddha even later on. So I mean,
but he has a certain goal. It's not like it's because the society do this and it's considered the best. So he's trying it, but he's trying to see if the best of the society fit into what he wanted. So it's not like you know, society say you can.
You're allowed to do so, yeah.
Yeah, and then you try it. That's not what society considered to be good. So you know, not everybody accept that. So it's not like our society say. I don't know. It's like you know, the society say you have to be a good student, you have to be A student, you have to go to this university, that university, and so on and so forth. So it's not like he's trying the worst kind of things. He's trying the best kind of things. What's recommended for the best people, the best quality, morally, you know, that kind of thing. So we are talking about different things. You know, you're talking about bad behavior. You know, maybe trying something not quite right. You know, and say this is what the Bodhisattva did. But we didn't see anything like that in here. Bodhisattva didn't do anything immoral, you know, or inappropriate.
Yeah, at least it's not killing or hurting.
It's not like you can use that as an excuse that you are doing this thing because Bodhisattva did this. That's what I'm trying to say.
So over here, it sounds like, you know, he practiced this in the early days. You're talking about meditation, so go to Feishan camp. Over here, then you go to the suffering part of it. The purpose is trying to get rid of the suffering. So he tried extreme things. So he suffered the most extreme he can take, and then he think he can liberate it from that. But on the other hand, 180-degree different is, well, gee, so-called pressure. So he said, well, gee, maybe he practiced pressure, and he can also, that's not the right way. You cannot liberate yourself from that. So for the adolescent people, especially teenagers, it seems to me important. Over here, it's talking about the other extreme. They say, gee, these people are stupid. For me, easiest way to get marijuana, this and that, I get high, I get it.
I see.
And then so, gee, why go that way? I could try it the other way. Then it's totally wrong. So I think we've got to be a little bit careful about things.
Yeah, still this is more like, it's more like a sacrifice, as you say, in a way. Yeah, not indulge in only just a sensual pleasure. Actually, that is practices to against the sensual pleasure. So of course later the more we learn that that's why the Buddha would disagree. That also when you're trying to avoid from the sensual pleasure or try to find counteract with the sensual pleasure, but become extreme way, then it's still not right. So
okay.
Yeah,
I actually have a question because now I'm thinking about like when you ask this question. So for this guideline or whatever we're talking about right now, is it more about a doctrinal teaching study, or is it more like a wellness coaching?
Depends on the age.
Those can be very different.
Yeah, I think that's why I say the target, the audience, the reader supposing to be more like a teenager.
Then I would say probably life coaching. Something like that.
Yeah, so that's what we're discussing. But if it's talking about adult, maybe that was not. When I say adult, I mean the maturity, what we think, we believe. So then we will maybe just purely on a doctrinal perspective, But I think that everybody at least give a very good point already. Few things about So despite that, because even you read it, you still need people let them how to think, and how, at least have a guideline for them to think and give them the, otherwise they could misreading, miscarry the whole thing. So, yeah.
Supplying the context.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, thank you for all your coming today. It's very, I think that's a really fruitful discussion too. Yeah. Right. Do you want to do the transfer marriage? Sure.
Sampadaṃ punya sampadaṃ sappha buddha anumodam tu sappha sappati siddhya sappha dhammanus sappha dhammanu bhavena sappha satta soti bhavantu te.
Okay, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for coming over. Yes.